It's nearly been a year since this war began, since October 7th. And a lot has happened. You had a lot of thoughts on how Israel should conduct the war. Um, and I kind of wanted to start off by getting your assessment. What is your assessment, Rabbi, on the situation in Israel right now? How do things stand in your view?
It's gone way over deadline. Has lasted way too long. The most moral way to fight a war is to fight it quickly. A slow war is like a slow surgery. It's not right. You don't want children getting used to living in bunkers, listening to sirens, running to their safe houses or safe apartments. On both sides, you're destroying the next generation if you drag a war for more than a week. So that's a terrible tragedy. Probably unnecessary. Whatever Israel is doing, they could have done in a week.
How?
They know how. They did it with 3 armies. They can't do it with a couple of terrorists. They know how. Question is, why don't they? What are they gaining by dragging it out? I don't know. The other thing is, you fight a war only to achieve peace. So to fight a war and then before achieving peace, accepting a ceasefire, that is such a perversion of everything decent and just. The only justification for killing even one soldier is to achieve peace. A ceasefire is not peace. So you really have no excuse whatsoever for killing a single soldier if you're not going to achieve peace. So a moral war is one that is brief but conclusive. Conclusive means you have peace for 40 years. Why is that not happening? Why isn't it faster? And why isn't it more conclusive? As it stands now, Hamas thinks they're winning. They paid a price, but they're winning. This is not going to bring peace. They may, in fact, be losing, but they think they're winning. And it's all in the perception. If they think they're winning, they're going to try again. So, what do we do to make it convincing that they lost the war? I'm sure the people there know what it takes. They're just not doing it. So I'm not a military expert, but I do know definition to words. The definition of disproportionate is that once you achieve peace, there's no need to continue killing. So if you continue killing after you've achieved peace, that would be disproportionate. So the response or the damage to the enemy has to be proportionate to the achievement of peace. What does it take to bring peace? Whatever it takes. Don't kill a single person more than that.
Mm.
And by the same token, what is the definition of genocide? Genocide means I continue killing you after you've already surrendered.
Mm.
But as long as you're still firing rockets, well, then we're at war.
Right.
As long as you're holding our hostages, we're at war. Genocide is completely irrelevant now. And concerning civilians, who is a civilian? Someone who puts down his arms and surrenders. In other words, the civilian has to identify himself as a civilian. Otherwise, how's anybody going to know? Just because you're not wearing a uniform?
You should know, by the way, that that's not the definition according to international law. I'm not saying that, international law is obviously immoral in some cases. I'm not justifying. I'm just making that point that this is a different view. And I'm pretty sure in international law, unless you are involved directly in fighting, then you're classed as a civilian.
That's not a definition. A civilian is someone who is not a threat. How do you know who's a threat and who isn't?
Right.
It's a silly set of laws, the whole Geneva Conference. It's like children getting together and making up rules for the game they're about to play. The guy who manufactures the bullets is a civilian?
I would say not.
Of course not.
Yeah.
If you're going to stop a war, you got to stop the manufacture of bullets.
Right. Do you get this definition? Is this from Maimonides, the Rambam's Laws of War?
Yeah, and the Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
I was talking to somebody just for the fun of it, and this person was horrified that babies are being killed. What do we make of that? Isn't it terrible that babies are being killed? So the first thing I asked him, are you pro-abortion? He says, yeah. I said, so for the comfort and for the wish of the woman, you can kill a baby. But to defend yourself from an enemy, no, you're not allowed to kill babies? Secondly, why are babies more precious than adults exactly?
Right. All life
You
is
don't care.
infinitely precious.
Right. Maybe adults should be more precious because they've contributed more. What is this with the babies? Only babies upset you? Then you're not a very moral person. People think they're being very moral when they object to the killing of babies. You're not being moral, you're just sentimental. If you were moral, the killing of a soldier would bother you too.
Hmm.
Where soldiers are disposable?
Right. Such a good point. Such a good point. And it's crazy I haven't heard this point made yet.
I'm afraid that those people who scream about babies being killed, they're just virtue signaling. It's not about the babies, it's about their own sensitivities. And that's why if adults get killed, they really don't care.
Mm.
And the same is true with civilians. Oh, how many civilians were killed? Well, what is it? Soldiers are okay to kill? Their death doesn't matter to anybody? They have
It's so
family too.
it's so dehumanizing, and because most Jews know someone who is a soldier or fighting, that we're more not that's not typical in a country, but Jews are so aware of that we know it's so dehumanizing when they say, oh, when the BBC News reports 6 soldiers, da, da, da. These are our friends and family.
And concerning hostages, we will do anything to bring back a hostage. No, you won't. Nor should you. How can you make such a promise? How can you even think that way? You'll do anything to bring back hostages? What are you saying? You'll endanger the entire country to bring back a hostage? You'll release 1,000 murderers, terrorists? Is that what you're promising? It's insane. You can't make such a promise. And then you go to the negotiating table and you want to negotiate a deal. Hey, you said you'd do anything. You don't get to have conditions now.
Yeah.
We'll set the conditions. You said you'll do anything.
I think I was reading just a few days ago that Israel had to kill a terrorist who was just released in the recent hostage swap because he was attempting to commit another attack.
He was a hostage and he's a terrorist?
No. It was, I was saying, one of the Arabs that was released in the prior hostage deal when they swapped 100 for 3 Arabs for every 1 hostage. That terrorist that was released then went to try to do another attack just recently.
Oh, Sinwar is one of the released hostages.
Right.
Well,
Right.
hostages, prisoners.
Yeah.
So, just by definition, things should be done differently. Follow the definition. Don't apologize for killing a civilian just because they say he was a civilian. Did the civilian identify himself? If not, how are you supposed to know? So it'd be suicidal to say the soldier on the ground while being shot at has to distinguish the civilian from the combatant. That's crazy.
Mm. Everything you're saying here is basically it's talking about a lack of strength. That you want to, there needs to be much more strength of conviction and boldness in wars as the only way to achieve long-term peace. What do you think it is that's stopping the Israeli government and Netanyahu from taking this approach? Because on the surface, many people would have expected Netanyahu to be, very strong, bold kind of leader. What do you think's going on?
He may be, but he cannot make decisions on his own. So there's a balance of power, and the Supreme Court is more powerful than the administration. Yeah, it's a big mess. It's a big mess. I think the real problem is Jews haven't used a gun in 2,000 years. Or a sword. We just don't have it in us. And I hope we never do.
Isn't the problem also American dependence? And America constantly threatening, oh, if you do that, well, we're gonna...
But you're not gonna.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So even without the American threat, there's just something in our conscience. We don't know how to do this. It's too
Right.
painful for the Israeli soldier.
Right.
We don't have the killer instinct. So there was a Jewish boxer, a young Russian boy, who was very, very good, talented, uh, with a good philosophy of boxing, good habits, all the. But then they put him into a ring with a guy with a killer instinct.
Mm.
It lasted 16 seconds, and he was down because he went in there to fight a nice fight.
Right.
The other guy came in there to kill him. For the Jewish boxer, it was an art. He was not a predator. So if you're at peace or peaceful for 2,000 years and suddenly pick up a gun, just because you can aim doesn't mean you can kill.
Mm.
It's like Jackie Mason says, Jews can't be muggers because we don't have the heart to say, give me all your money. Give me a little now, a little, whatever you have, and you can afford, like write me a check.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.